Hello, everyone, and welcome to RALOVANT. Just like normal, back in the studio, everything is fine, ladies and gentlemen. No, we're at home. Things are
Exactly.
things are very different. It's still me, Ender, here with Zescht, but with Germany entering another lockdown, we're taking the show online. So we're going to be able to bring you all the same sweet content. We still got the light show happening in the dome, but everything is going to be done from the comfort of our own apartments here, Zescht.
Oh, it's so wonderfully warm. I'm taking a look outside. I see the wonderful city of Vienna. My feet are getting heated because I have the radiator just placed at my feet.
Ooh.
You don't know what I'm wearing just underneath that camera. So it's all wonderful. It's all very great.
Yeah, it's quite the mystery what's going on down there. Maybe a couple
A
hours we'll
second
figure it out.
cams.
When we get to the show match and everything, maybe that's when everything gets revealed. No, it's a bit weird, right? Because the last time I was doing these online shows was back in I want like April now, when like the first
Right.
lockdown sort of hit. We were doing like the weekly LEC shows online. I stream, so it's not like that weird to do this from home. But after being in the studio for so many weeks in a row, it's a different feeling. We're gonna try to make sure it's still fun for all of you. So how have the first few days, been since I last saw you last week?
So basically, I've been playing a lot in a new patch, and I was having Cypher in my hand, and I was absolutely throwing it into making a 3 point immediately. Cypher is out. Cypher, we're not friends anymore. Screw that one. Killjoy, I guess. But Breach. Breach it is. Man, Breach is the king, and then you have Sky, and then you have Phoenix and Omen, and you definitely need a new pair of eyes and glasses once that game is over.
Yeah, it's blind simulator, right? Ever
Yeah, it
since
is.
the most recent patch with Sky coming out, I did get to experience your first time breach though, because I don't know if any of you in chat know. By the way, I've got you guys on the second monitor, so I'm gonna be able to say hi all night long. Um, we played together for the first time ever, just a few days ago.
That was
You first
a
timed
disaster.
breach. It was
Not only
rough.
that.
Have you improved
Stop.
since then?
No. Hey. Two things. Two things. I did not only play a new character. I swapped up my sense 0.2 points.
Oh,
That's massive, man. I'm a left-hander, so I'm basically disabled with gaming.
right.
But further on, it's even worse due to the matter of fact that I have switched up my sense on the first day. Are you writing that down, mate?
Yeah, sorry. I just wanted to make sure I
Why?
got the full list of excuses before I forgot.
Right.
Yeah,
Mhm.
I've
Go
got them
on.
all. I've got them all here now. I'll be ready for next
Let
time.
me. Yeah. Wait. I have to look it up. Give me a second. So further on, I think I have. Yeah, my cat died today as well. My second one as well. Unfortunately,
You
same day,
can't
1 hour
say
later.
that.
Um. Then I watched the U.S. elections. Real bad. Really affected me horribly. So yeah.
Okay, rewind back to the cat part. You can't say that. I'm actually.
Why?
I've been
Listen,
looking into getting a cat. You can't just destroy my
mate.
heart there.
Ender. You're telling me
Zescht.
what I shouldn't say. Should we rewind back to the first episode we did together? Do you remember the show
Uh,
match?
yes.
Do you
Oh,
remember?
okay. No, we don't have to dredge up. Okay, I might
How
have
does it
said
feel?
something a little insensitive.
How does it feel?
Uh,
It's
you know what?
sensitive.
Still haven't
It's
gotten to the bottom
sensitive.
of it. Haven't
Yeah.
gotten to the bottom of it. But yeah,
I swear
I
to
want a
God.
cat. If
Yeah.
anyone in chat
Really?
knows how to get me a cat, get me a cat. I need a little
Why
kitty.
not a
Little kitty
dog?
would
A
be excellent.
dog. A dog. A dog. A dog.
Too much work. Also, was kind of scared of dogs as a kid. Like
Okay,
big
I
dogs scared
respect
me as
that.
a kid, so like
I
trauma,
respect that.
But
Okay. Okay.
cats are cool. Cats are cool. They
Mm,
mind their own business.
mm-mm.
I think if I was an
No.
animal, I would be a cat because kind of an
Uh,
asshole and do
yeah.
everything on my own. That's a cat.
I hate
That's what cats
cats.
are.
I genuinely hate them. Very honestly, I don't like them.
Well,
They're unpredictable.
before we destroy this duo dynamic, I'm going to take us away from
Yeah.
the pet angle because clearly
Okay.
that is going down a dark path where there is
Absolutely.
only going to be, bad things will come from that discussion. All right. So, new patch, obviously, old patch, really old patch, but, eventually it came out. We had it last week, just barely. But you were saying you were able to put in a lot of time on it. So, what's your initial reactions past just what everyone is saying? That is, of course, oh my God, everyone has a blind. You can never look at your screen because you can't see anything.
The only thing that I didn't notice so far was really the ability of Sky's heal having a major effect into the game. It's more of a passive thing you notice due to enemies being healed, but still, I didn't really also see an oversaturation of Sky. Her flashbang seems to be absolutely brutal, but somehow too predictable. Which means if I think on the top ranks we'll see less usage of spontaneous Sky flashes because they are so easy to shut down.
Yeah.
Also, I think the Tasmanian Tiger, because many listen, this really messes me up, right? I think cultural things have to be respected. This is not a wolf. This is not a dog. It's a tiger. It's a Tasmanian tiger. This woman is from Australia. The island south of it is Tasmania. It's a Tasmanian tiger, and it's very worthless in my eyes because you can hear it loudly. It has short sight. So I
Okay,
think
I have to stop you right there again because tigers are cats, and I'm not sure if this is actual credible analysis or just continuing this tirade against cats. What's it gonna be?
listen, okay, it's a Tasmanian tiger, Ender. Okay, it's a Tasmanian tiger. It's not a dog. It's not a wolf. It's a Tasmanian tiger, and I don't have anything against them. I'm just saying people are calling them wrong. That's my
Okay,
issue.
okay. We just have to make
That's my
sure we're
issue.
calling it a tiger and not. I don't know. What have I been calling it actually?
Tasmanian tiger. It's a
I
Tasmanian
think I've just
tiger.
been calling it a drone, kind of like Sova, because her ability to sort of play similar to Sova, like you can take control of
Oi
the
oi oi.
tiger. The Tasmanian
Mm,
drone? No, that doesn't work. Okay. Anyways, yeah, no, I think the flash in particular, it's interesting, right? Because it does
yeah.
have like a longer like charge up time, I guess, and like you want to be sending it out. And there is counterplay there. So it feels like a lot of her abilities are quite reactionary. Similar to like a Sova drone, right? Where you see it turn the corner, you see the tiger come around, you can shoot that, you can shoot her ultimate things coming at you. So I feel like a lot of the times you're not going to get full value out of the utility, but you are going to get people to either shoot and reveal their positions or, look away, break their side if it's going to be
True.
the bird flying at you. Whereas a breach, so much more difficult to dodge away from that
Mm,
flash. Like
true.
that flash, you are not going to be able to escape from. His tremors also are pretty hard to get out of the way of, I feel like, as well.
I think the tactical depth or the tactical abilities of Sky are a little bit more intense due to the fact that
Hmm.
when I watched the video 2 weeks ago from Cloud9 when they had first access to the patch, you saw them really, for example, on Ascent. When you think about the B site and B main, they really pushed, for example, the flashes, the bird, up above this tunnel narrow corridor and put it up above, for example, and really let
Yeah,
it
you're talking
fly
about a
around
scent,
it.
right?
Ascent,
You're
yeah,
talking
yeah.
about a scent beat. Yeah, exactly, exactly.
Yeah. That for example can be so useful because I think this is where the tactical usage of it can be way better than the spontaneous usage of it.
Yeah, I agree. It also it feels like to me, it's interesting to like think about like which one is going to be better on attack versus defense, right? Because like breach, it feels like you can
True.
like pretty quickly make up your mind whether
Hmm.
to go in or not. Whereas the bird, in theory, gives you more time. Like if the enemy like hears that coming, they maybe take shelter. Your team
Yeah.
can sneak in behind it. So there's
Hmm.
like a little bit more room to play with there if you are coordinating that with your allies. The ultimate is an interesting one though, because I
Yeah.
feel like to me it's like very good at just like instantly giving you information of where the enemy is on a site. But at the same time, like you can shoot it and dodge away from it, so it doesn't feel super powerful in isolation to me outside of just the scouting potential.
I think the best way to use the utility is actually letting your teammates but directly follow the ult. Because as a distraction, as it comes closer, it makes more noise and you will try
Yeah,
to shoot it because you don't want to be concussed. So if you follow it, the opponent has, to choose what to do first. Very good opponents can do both, sort of, but you still see that there could be an advantage in distraction and trying to focus the wrong target, which might be an ability. But overall, I think Sky is averagely strong. It's not overly strong. It's not overly capable of anything. It's going to be interesting to see in competitive play in 2 weeks because that's the crucial part. First strike won't have it.
yeah, and I think whenever you're going to see a new agent, my expectations would be they usually come in weaker, especially when
True.
it's going to be some sort of like. So if you're looking at roles, right? I think that
Yeah.
the type of roles that would be really easy to play initially is a sentinel. I think, for example, like sentinels, you can figure out pretty easily because like that's the defensive side. You figure out where to put your stuff. Like that's not going to be too difficult. Whereas as soon as you get into like the territory of like controllers or initiators, that's going to be much more difficult to pull off. And I would feel like those are the types of agents that take more time and longer and more games to actually end up mastering.
True, true. That's one thing where I would tend to agree. Where I disagree with you, I think, was when Reyna came out. Everybody, I mean, Reyna was not weakened in a sense when it started coming. Everybody was playing Reyna, and everybody was enjoying Reyna massively. That's the only thing where I would say it is a little different. Um, Overall, we'll see. Sky has to be played competitively, and we'll find out. It can't be worse than Viper. Let's say that it can't be worse than Viper.
Oh man. We so many
I hate
Viper
it.
haters, you know. We talked about Viper on the show last week and it said it wasn't that bad. Maybe there's some use for it in pro play, but I'll believe it when I see it. I think
Mhm.
the other big new thing I think is of course Icebox being introduced to the competitive queue. My
Yeah,
read on Icebox still is that this is probably the hardest map to learn out of any of them. And I wonder if like thinking about it, Riot intentionally was like, okay, on release, let's release some very straightforward maps where it's like most of them are like
yeah,
three
yeah,
lane
yeah.
maps, like not a lot of crazy angles you have to learn about. Like the smokes are very obvious. You need them in like two or maybe three positions, and you're going to be able to enter a site pretty easily. Whereas Icebox is just so crazy in terms of the elevation you have to look at, like the whole mid area. There's a million different angles you need to think about. Same thing over on the B bomb site. It's really, really interesting to me. And my theory is that Riot might try to introduce more difficult maps like this as we move along. And maybe that could be a point of concern for some players because I think initially a lot
Yeah.
of people really don't like Icebox.
Uh, that I hate Icebox. First of all, I think the best example to present the issue about Icebox is when you're starting as an attacker and you're going for the A side and you go on the elevated position. I forgot the name of it already. Where you go up the ramp and you can take a look down into A side. What is it
Yeah.
called? I don't know. It doesn't matter. But I think
There's too many calls on this map. I'm going to be
true,
honest.
true. And I think this already shows the weakness of this map because from that point on, you already look on the map itself, but centimeter by centimeter by centimeter you move, you actually have it doubles up the angles. Literally, it doubles up the
Yeah.
angles because first you have the box on the right side. Somebody could be back on the right side. Somebody could be close where the angle near the orb is. Then you move more to the right. So then you have heaven additionally to watch, and more you move to the right, then you even have the zip lines to watch. I think this is one of the worst maps I've ever seen in competitive gaming. Um, Especially what you said, the difficulty might be a thing Riot is aiming for, but the best example of the most popular and simple map is Dust 2. And it will
Yeah.
remain one of the most popular maps in the world. It's easy to learn. It's hard to master. And I think this is what makes a good map, not the difficulty itself.
Yeah,
But
so
you know,
it is interesting because I do agree with you, right? Like simplicity is like beautiful when it comes to like map design, and often makes for the best gaming experience because as soon as
true.
you can get rid of all the like, if you can walk onto a map and like get the hang of it after like 5 games, like boom, it's easy, right? Like that's a good
Yeah,
map
yeah.
because you don't have to do all this memorization, and it should be about the gameplay and shooting and using utility in a very straightforward manner more than like figuring out every nook and cranny possible. That being said, though, I do think there is room in a map rotation for a map like Icebox. I get that it's not going to be everyone's cup of tea, and maybe Icebox isn't like the perfect envisionment of this, but I like the idea of like a very like pug heavy where like people can be coming from a lot of different angles. Like even Haven to an extent feels sort of like that with quick rotations behind you. Maybe not the elevation play, like that play is going
Okay.
to be very different, but people can come at you from a lot of different, areas around you in the 360. So I think that does have some interesting elements to it.
Mhm.
And again, maybe Icebox isn't perfect, but that to me seems like this is what Riot is trying to go for, and I like the idea, maybe not the execution.
I think the thing is that they will learn from it, and I think Riot is far away from being incompetent about how to develop a game. We'll see. I hope the next map they'll do is just going to be way more simple because I think simplicity
Yeah.
rocks. I think simplicity rocks. Simplicity is because simplicity doesn't mean that it's easy to master, and I think that's pretty much what all the other maps have shown
Yep.
so far.
Yeah, I like it. I like simplicity with the new elements they added, right? Like the teleporters and stuff like that over on Bind. Would
Exactly.
love to see some more stuff like that. But you know what everyone does love?
I
The
know what you're
Reaver
saying.
bundle. Oh
Mhm.
my god, it's back in the game. The chromas I am all about. And I have to ask you, what's your favorite chroma? You have the red black, you have the white black, and you have the black black. What is number
Mate,
one? Or purple, but that's come on.
Ender,
Basic.
Ender.
Yeah.
How often did we discuss skins in this game?
I love
A good bunch of
skins.
times. Yeah.
You
But
don't
what
care
did I
about
say?
skins.
I do, but you know my opinion about all the Valorant skins by now. They're all horrible. I'll be
Your
honest with you.
opinions are just wrong. Your
Yeah, that's
opinions are
okay.
okay. Okay, I'm looking at chat
Okay.
right now.
Yeah,
Are
yeah,
Valorant
go
skins
on.
bad? Okay,
I tell
actually,
you one
better,
thing. I
better
tell you
yet,
one
better
thing.
yet. Type one if Zescht
Oh
has
no,
no
you're
idea what he's talking about when it comes to
come
skins.
come on. Yeah, that's exactly yeah. Endercast types one. Are you serious? Who's that guy?
Yeah,
Can we get
I
it
don't
banned?
know.
Can we get that?
He's probably not verified on Twitter. I'll be honest,
Yeah,
but he is on
probably not. Me
Twitch.
neither. The only thing that really looks good is the Wasteland. The Wasteland AK. What is it? Vandal. The Wasteland Vandal is awesome. The Wasteland Vandal is awesome,
You
man.
did
That
not
looks
just
cool.
disrespect. You did not just roll in here, say the Reaver skins are not good, and then say, oh yeah, by the way, the dinky Fallout 76
Mwah.
skins are the ones that we
Looks
like.
really it's
No
on
way.
point, mate. It's on point. You can't tell me anything. This skin has all the cranny details I expect from it. You know, it has the red classic gas leather, you know, it has the wooden parts for the reach down. I think it's perfect. The best skin of the game so far. Sorry, Ender. Let's do
I
something
mean, you
different.
need to
No cats, no
apologize to
skins.
everyone watching here because that is just
Ah,
disgusting.
no, no,
I
no, no.
agree. Alka in chat saying the white Reaver is the best. I agree. I agree. I'm going for the white Reaver on the operator. That's where it's at. It doesn't get any
You
better
know,
than that. It just it looks. I don't know. If I were to imagine what the Grim Reaper would, take people out with, it would be the white black operator. That's the one.
I'll be honest with you. I think the more episodes we do, I think there's a clear dynamic showing, and the clear dynamic is that
I'm
this is
right.
a
You're
bit like
wrong.
no, no, yeah, you'll see where my point is going. That it's a bit like Inglorious Bastards because you're the cool American guys, and I have to be the German. You know, it's it's the way it
Me?
goes. It seems to me.
I'm the cool one.
No,
Nice.
you're the cool American. You're the cool. You're like
Love you.
the Brad Pitts. That's called a bingo. You know, and I'm asking, is it called a bingo? You know what I mean? Have you watched the movie?
Yeah. No.
Wonderful.
But
No?
you know what? I'll take being called Brad Pitt any day of the week. Type one if you think I'm Brad Pitt. That's we take those.
What is happening? Anyway,
Well, shall we
what has
walk
happened else?
through the breach
Come on,
changes? Since
go,
I
go,
heard
go.
that you were a big fan. You're trying to learn out the agent. Learn out.
Mm.
What is learn the agent? Talk to me about the changes.
Yeah, so Breach has some very unknown changes and some known changes. Because what has happened, which is right now he's shown from the man Eric Kuhn, is that first of all, we have the flash increasement. Full flash is now 2 seconds as far as you know, but the stun is charging 20% faster, which is massive. The Rolling Thunder casts starts 8 meters away, same for the stun, which I think for the stun could be a decrease of performance. What's really good though, in my eyes, is that the Rolling Thunder starts 8 meters further back, because that also means that the range is 8 meters increased backwards. And you usually, in many ways, you don't use the Rolling Thunder directly in front of you. You use it as an attacker to either open up or retake a site, which is then creating massive abilities because you can be further away. You have an increased range artificially, and that helps you massively. I think it's amazing. I
Yeah.
think it is actually very, very beneficial for Breach.
And the biggest buff there, at least in my eyes in solo queue, is that you're no longer going to be stunning your teammates when you try to use these abilities because the range is pushed back. So you can actually use an ultimate with your friends in front of you, which A is good because a lot, like you just see that in
Yeah.
matchmaking all the time where you're CCing your allies, but also it means your team can actually get onto the site faster and play off of those CCs even better. So I actually think that's a really big change there to help him out. Have you noticed that to be a pretty big buff in your own play?
No, because I think if you still do it diagonal and people are running through, they're still gonna be, actually concussed. So I don't know if that's gonna be big of a change. Very honestly, I
All
would
right, so
also
you're still
know.
CCing your friends. I get it. I get it.
Absolutely. I would actually like to know their reasoning. I think because what you said is the most logical argumentation I could imagine right now.
Yeah, I mean, I believe it. I think that everything Riot has taken every opportunity to make this game is to make your allies not be able to like hinder your own gameplay, right? In the sense like
Yeah, yeah,
friendly
yeah, yeah.
fire is just turned off. Like most things aren't
Oh
like
God.
most ally utility isn't going to damage you. or it does like reduce damage to you. So like all these problems that you just were locked in a game with someone that was griefing you in CS:GO, like those experiences just happen less, or they have to find more creative ways to grief you other than trying to kill you with their utility.
Oh! Can we go for a point? Can we go, because we have this Reddit
Yeah.
thing later? But because Scream was tweeting today that he's really annoyed by people of a higher mental capacity actually still being toxic in game, right? And
Hmm.
I was reading through that. I was reading through the comments, and one guy said, "Just mute everyone." Okay, that's a little odd, I think, initially, but asking him why he does that, it turns out he got radiant with that. Fair enough, he might be individually strong, and still from start on has everyone muted. I think don't do this. Never do that, please. I beg you.
So I'm of two minds on this issue.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
I'm glad you brought it up because I, as a player, early on, I used voice. So I don't mute people, but I'll use like only the in game comms wheel because I just can't be bothered to talk. Um,
Really?
yeah, yeah. No, I'm toxic like that. Good work.
Mm,
No, good work. No, good work. No,
America.
that's how you flame people.
Yeah,
Um,
you're horrible. Yeah, go
that's
ahead.
the way. No, but so part of me is like, yes, everyone wants to be in comms, like that's great. But also there's some people that just don't want to be in comms, whether like you're gonna get flamed for how you sound or
True,
anything like
true.
that. So there's like legitimate reasons not to be in comms,
Yeah.
or not to listen to people if you have experience with like toxicity and that stuff. Like I actually don't mind that. And if you play with comms off every single game, your rating directly reflects that. So like it's not like you not being in comms makes you worse than you should be in the game because everyone comes in with like an elo rating, right? Like behind the scenes. So if you have like
Okay.
1800 elo behind the
Yeah.
scenes and then you
Yeah.
turned on voice, your elo might increase, but that's like going. It's really hard to explain. You are not
Okay. Okay.
being a detriment to your team in the balancing of the game, in the balancing of the 5 versus 5 by not having
Yeah.
comms off. If you always have comms off, and with that, I am okay. I have no problem with that because it's expected that you perform to the level of any other game where you also had comms off. So I'm chilling with it.
Yeah. All right. I see where you're coming from. At the same time, I think it's one of the most horrible standards you should come into a game. I think especially a game that is so communication dependent. But seems like because I always talk in game. I always talk. I try to cheer them up. I always try to really get them going. Let's do this. Let's do that. I think that is helping in solo queue. But
Yeah,
different
it for
approaches,
sure
I
does. It
imagine.
for sure does, and you can do that. Yeah, I think there's more to the issue than just don't turn off your voice because I think there are legitimate reasons
Yeah.
to do that. Wrapping up the patch segment here, of course, there were some actually big issues with observing and
Mm,
like just like random crashes when you're trying to load into Observer, and this is just really strange. Of course, Valorant, a new game, you're always going to run into problems like this, but this was a pretty difficult thing for tournament organizers, wasn't it?
And not only that, especially considering it's First Strike. First Strike really
Yeah.
all the way coming right now at us, and this bug is happening, and I'm very surprised it didn't fix it already. This is a bit odd to me. I guess they're gonna make it work very soon. Especially Europe is starting in just a bit. So let's take a quick look at the patch notes, wrap it up then, and we can directly hop into our next topic in just a bit. As you see right there, that is one of the worst. Rip Killjoy Cypher.
This
This
is
guy.
such a good change. Oh my god, I've been waiting for the. So I thought it
Really?
was. So here's the thing. This is when it comes to picking up like cipher traps, right? And they're not going to carry over into the
Mm-hmm.
next round. Initially, I think it is cool to have some abilities that carry over round to round, right? Like that's
Yeah.
just
Okay.
like a different thing that it's like it's just a strong thing in the character where if you hold on to utility, that's gonna be able to persist and you hold on to your money.
Sure. Sure.
But I think that when you are trying to trim unnecessary fat from kits that are already like overpowered, because like we saw like so much Cypher, right? Like Cypher is just such a strong
True.
agent. They're
True.
trying to nerf areas. It is better to take off that because I find that to be like an unnecessary part on the kit overall than let's say make his traps cost 300 or like 100 credits more, right? Like you
Yeah.
would
Yeah.
rather have them not persist in the round taken off than have a change like that made. So I think just removing unnecessary stuff like that is a positive change in my mind.
I actually give you that point. It's a valid and legit argument for the amount Cypher has been picked in Killjoy, so might be worth a try. I think we will see after First Strike what major learnings Riot will have from their own organized tournament. But I think that has been everything for the news flash for now, which brings us to the esports sections, where the first thing we are going to talk about are Spike Nations.
I love this. Spike Nick, of course. I still love this. Exciting. This, of course, Twitch run tournament where all of the teams are going to be different country representative of countries in Europe competing for 100,000 euros. And that's going to be going to charity too. So this is going to be
Yes.
like a
Yeah.
fun tournament, but also competitive. And we get to see some regional rivalries break out.
Yeah, that's a good thing. I fully agree on that. I think that that's going to be really making a bit of a difference in the scene, that we have still such beneficial things happening. Overall, I still find those tournaments a little odd from time to time, because sure, you watch for the content creators, but still, yeah, I guess. Either way, the most important takeaways from this are probably that we have, in my eyes, three very interesting teams. Because before we start, this is, by the way, dear Christy, one of the first tournaments to use Icebox.
Ooh, I
Mm,
like it.
mm-hmm.
And
Same.
this is actually like how I want to see Icebox like first played. Is I don't
Yep.
need
Yep.
everyone to be like top level competitive player. Like I'm down to see a little bit more pug style games on a map like that, especially.
Yeah, I feel you. I 100% feel you. And I mean, when we take a little deep look into the teams that we have at the moment, there are three standout teams for me personally that we right now can experience. There you have the full team list. For me, it is three of those. That's CIS, France, and Turkey. And I'll quickly elaborate on that point. CIS, due to 7SSK7, as well as Impala, who previously played for Fishka as well as Force, especially 7SSK being so versatile with Viper, Killjoy, and Breach. France with Hype from XNIP, Bavzi, and JBZZ. And finally, Turkey with Kero and Lego, who both play in BBL, who are the number 13 in the world. And I mean, Turkish fans, they're out of this world. That's going to be
It's
massive.
true. Yeah, that'll be a lot of fun. I believe these games are going to be starting tomorrow on
11 a.m.
Twitch Esports. So yeah, early morning games going to be going for a
Hmm.
long time. I don't know how many streamers you watch, but I watch a lot on screen. Him and Hiko are my two go tos. On screen in the morning, Hiko in the evening. I want to see on screen compete, because I actually think Twitch ran a very similar tournament, right, either during the beta or right when the game released, where it was like region based, and we got to see like Mixwell playing for Team Spain, I believe, and a lot of those guys that have now gone on to some pretty insane orgs. So
Yep.
these tournaments can also be cool for scouting a different wave, depending on how many up and coming players we do get to see.
True. I mean, for example, what I can say, for example, Germany has absolutely nothing to offer from up and coming players. That's the first thing that's a little disappointing in my eyes. They don't do that, uh, especially that's a little sad. I think Germany will be absolutely down to drain to directly take the flagpole and throw it away. That's sorry, Team Germany. It's not going to work.
Unlucky, but maybe we'll see. We'll see. There can always be some hope here at the Spike Nations tournament, because this is sort of the only other big thing going on in Europe, at
Right.
least, before we get to see First Strike come out. So we have this, then we're going to
Ah,
see some First Strike qualifiers, then we get to see actual First Strike, and then we get to go away for the holidays. That's pretty much the
exactly.
plan for all of us.
Well,
I
I
do
would
believe we
say
have some. Yeah, go ahead.
no, no. Please, please. What are you going to say? You
Well, we have
first.
some more graphics we've missed. I'm
Yeah.
sorry. Spike Nation's
Dive through it.
wild cards. Boom. Hype the Spike. It's the name of the game. These are, of course, the wild card challenge. I'm not exactly sure how it works. I will be honest. I forgot about this.
I won't lie to you either. Because those fun cups are never my cup of tea. I'm sorry. I have to break it. And so okay. I mean,
Ah,
you. I love it.
there you go. There you
Say
go.
it.
You tweet the region you want to win, and they get 5K extra charity money. So this is, just get on Twitter, vote for your favorite region, find a
No.
streamer that you like, vote for those guys.
Already
W.
lost. Yeah, Turkey. I
Yeah,
mean,
you're just
who
not
else?
going to beat
Who
Turkey.
else? No, no chance. You cannot beat Turkey in this. No, no chance. Big support. They're really getting from the team, which makes it actually very enjoyable because a little bit of extra information. For example, in Counter Strike, it's not really a thing anymore. There's Team 9, which is fully Turkish. You have few individuals, so maybe that's going to be the big Turkish game. Valorant would be quite decent.
Yeah, I believe Turkey actually is a little bit separated from
Hmm.
the rest of EU in First Strike. They've got their own First Strike running, so
Yeah,
they've got their own tournament, which is interesting.
massive.
I personally would like to see the top Turkish teams playing against some of the other European teams we're going to be seeing in First Strike, but they'll have their own champions. Then by the time we start getting some internationals, that's where all hell is going to break loose. We're going to see some really insane matchups coming up. Speaking of other regions, I think we actually move on and talk a bit about the O scene with the
Hmm.
Dire Wolves putting together a new roster here. What can you tell me about that?
Very easily, the AU org has dropped their roster by the end of September and brought in a freshly new one, as this team has also recently played the LPL Challenger Season number 3. They finished 4th with a 0-2 against Mind Freaks. Obviously, they are in the early stage. Obviously, this lineup has not really proven themselves, as they're so short in it. But I mean, we're gonna find out. Lou and Co are definitely gonna have their chance. What I find more interesting, dear Ender, is a mix that has been created by one of the bigger organizations in the Australian region, which is
Hmm.
Legacy, who's also an Australian MDL team. And this team has found a roster with players who nearly have no or actually no coverage on VLR and Spike. The only one who's really known is Zen Coco, who has played a good while for Ground Zero, and Ferg, who has played a good while in launch as a controller, Cypher or Killjoy mainly. So it's going to be interesting to see. They have no match played yet, but we can take a look at the little video from Legacy.
You can say hello, but I don't need you to like me. 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 You can say hello, but I don't need you to like me. Don't need you to like me. Don't need you to like. You can watch me go, 'cause I don't need you to like me. Don't need you to like me. Don't need you to like. You can say.
All right. Well, Legacy, they look sick in their montage right there. I'll give them that at the very least. But I think the challenge for all Australian orgs, especially in 2020, is going to be proving themselves internationally. When they only get to compete against
Yeah.
themselves, it becomes really hard to rate these teams overall. So we'll be watching them. But of course, we'll hope that they get a chance to shine a little bit later on. Another team that maybe you want to talk about here is Singularity, not the skin line. Actually a different org with some of the names that you're going to recognize from
Mhm.
the Spike Nations announcement coming up too.
I think there is not a single game where Singularity doesn't have a team in. I think they have a team in every game, and also 100% they also have a female team of that. As I know from them, they are really diverse with their games. Picking up, I think one of the most promising and free lineups right now is Fish Give Tom. Have so far overall won over 5k euros. For example, a nice Cactus Summer Cup beating HSDIRR with a quite tight best of 3, and also picking up a few fairly good Russian cups with a very nice win rate on Hyven. Promising one, most definitely, and I have heard we also have a little intro for them as well.
Hey, boy.
Okay, okay. Some of that raise movement was looking a little crisp right there. How excited for
Mhm.
you? How excited are you for this team overall? You think they can compete?
I think the most interesting part of all of that is actually that they have right now picked Spike, who played at Vet Titans previously, as Edelweiss has actually left the team, which is going to be a very interesting move as they saw now the Breach Phoenix mix of Edelweiss, which is a wonderful German word, by the way, now being removed, which is going to be interesting to see in that combination. I see them having a very good chance as First Strike CIS, if not one of the best. Obviously, Gambit is a big competitor for that, but it's going to be a spiced up one. And I think that was a really good pick from Singularity, deciding to get that squad for themselves.
All right, well, we'll see exactly what Singularity can do. I'd like to move into our next segment. Solved it. We're talking First Strike, and we're actually going to bring our expert RyanCentral in here. I hope everything is ready and good to go. So Ryan, we have a 2.5 minute video first. I'm a liar. Let's watch that
You're a
and then
liar.
bring out Ryan.
Shinobi, who's had a slow map. He's gonna hit a good paranoia. Looks like he's gonna try to telly back behind them. Oh no! He got canceled. Oh my gosh! Shinobi does it, ladies and gentlemen! Keep things alive, but he's gonna get taken out. Cloud9 just down to 1. Vice in a 1v2. God knows exactly what both of them. Oh! Vice! Oh my gosh! How did he do that?
To walk it, Wardell peeks on in. Guess who's on the other side? It's Cloud9. Down to Drones, headshots, disconnect, down to the 1v3. Finds the second, finds the third! Are you kidding me? Slows things down. Guess what? Aftershock surprise. Now he's playing behind the map. Shots good!
TSM maybe patiently Relics is able to get one with the Stinger. There's the Rolling Thunder. It's going to be traded back as both teams avail themselves of that. TSM just down to 3 members left as they fight to get to overtime, but the guns from Cloud9 may be too much. As TSM just down to 2 members left, Relics gets onto the site, and ladies and gentlemen, Cloud9 do it again! TSM is going to be starting on the attacking side as they work their way towards Hookah. Mitch gets taken out. Unfortunate circumstances, he gets punched in the face. Wardell gets in on the action as well, as ladies and gentlemen, chaos ensues right outside of the teleporter. 1 member left on the side of Cloud9 after the dust settles, and it's Vice with the Frenzy, who already has 4, looking for the 8. What a start to the map, baby!
In the last couple of milliseconds, Teddy denies the spike plant. And now someone else has to run over and go for the plant again, and in the meanwhile, it could get sprayed down through the Cypher cage. It's successful, but the spike plant was just planted in time. And now EU in a 1-on-3, spinning around. Oh my god! That 4K from EU is unreal!
Hayes taking a look as a Guardian, Sentinel over that A-short area. And it looks like that's exactly where TSM goes. And oh my gosh, the CC was huge. Sobrosa with a 3-piece mows apart Cloud9. Ladies and gentlemen, this looks all but inevitable. Cloud9 doesn't have the spike. They don't have any control over it. Are you not entertained? We're going to overtime. And you've got at least 6 more seconds that you're going to work with because you know he can't push into that. But he's got to go here.
Player standing.
Oh, 1v1. Doable. That's what we get Relics. Showstopper as well. Waiting for somebody to peek out. A bazooka in his hand. Guess who's there on the opposite side? But it whiffs. Now it's down to the 1v1. He's just trying to run. He's just trying to hide. But you can't run from Hayes. TSM. Stay alive.
Oh man, that Cloud9 TSM set was absolutely crazy to watch. Welcome RyanCentral to the show. Thanks for being with us here. And I wanted to start you off. I want to talk about the open qualifiers. Talk to me about that C9 versus TSM match. I mean, what are your big takeaways from it? Because it was so close all the way.
I mean, yeah, you've got some of the better 2 teams in the region fighting off against them. To be honest, I think both TSM and C9, if they won that game, probably could have beat Envy in the open qualifiers, but to be brutally honest, it didn't really matter that much because those games were for seeding for the closed qualifiers. Playing that game essentially meant that they would avoid each other for the majority of the rest of seeding. So it was a really good game. Great to see both these teams looking a lot better, I suppose, with all of the changes. TSM haven't looked good for a while. Cloud9 certainly have their moments where they just don't look good at all. Both of them showing that they're still a force to be reckoned with. And with Sentinels going out of the tournament a little bit earlier, losing to Gen G, it makes you consider that there are a few other options that could potentially win First Strike in NA. It was a great match, but the best is still yet to come.
That's really exciting. Go
Would
ahead,
you
Zescht.
personally say that really teams played a little with less engagement due to the fact that it's only about seeding?
There was the joke where apparently
I
Dapper
know.
from Sentinels was 9 White Claws in when he was playing his games on Gen G. So there was definitely the sense of them being like, we're not taking this seriously. We're not going to play. They were doing 360 no scope. So pretty much an example of them just kind of messing around a little bit. But I do think it's very easy for them to say after the fact that, oh yeah, we weren't trying. That's like such a playground thing to do. If I'm in a game and I lose, it's very easy for me to go, oh yeah, I wasn't even trying, guys. Come on. But I do think there is a risk for teams like Sentinels to keep their cards close to their chests. But also what you have to bear in mind is that teams wanted really good seeding to avoid teams like Sentinels and TSM. If you are Sentinels, you don't care who you play up against because you think that you can take everybody, right? So to be honest, with how the groups have gone for the close quals, it's not been too detrimental for them, to be honest. But it's still, a question mark around them, what we can expect in the future. But yeah, I think they were taking it very easily. But you mentioned like engagements and like you can compare that to Europe. America is very gun-ho with their approach anyway, so to speak. They're very execute heavy. They're very try to play fast pace. It's when they do the EU style where they slow it down. You see teams like T1 try and do this quite a lot. Doesn't really go the way that they hope in some cases. So yeah, less engagements, but still not to the amount that you would expect from a very slow, methodical European round, so to speak.
Would you expect then, like, as we get to like the more important matches, as we actually get into First Strike, that we see like the level of player or some of the tendencies start to change, and we do get more methodical, or do you think that's just like the American way, and we're going to see that continue into First Strike?
I think it's been better. I do think that it's very hard to gauge right now because, to be honest, defaults and executes are the main thing that can separate certain strategies. Vision strikers in South Korea were the big proponent to that. You saw a lot of breach flashing in a dash and jet. They call it the shark attack. I think people like Depp from Dignitas referred to it that way. So you started to get those like combinations, which when you look at games like Overwatch, combos of agents are just the bread and butter of the game, right down to every single hero in that game having a role in the team. I don't think we're there yet, but I'm not surprised so far that we haven't seen any new or surprising executes, considering the fact that this is stuff that these teams want to hold on to when they get to the business end of First Strike, where those matches really matter. Right now, they can afford to not share a few strategies and still win because that's the caliber of those teams. So it's hard to gauge because we're not seeing everything on the table just yet. After First Strike, literally, what I love about the format for First Strike for EU and NA is that they will be happening probably back to back. We'll probably have like the European qualifiers, and then we'll go over to the NA qualifiers, and then basically go around because it's all within the same 2 days in December, right? So you will be able to literally see how Europe plays with their top 8 teams, then move on over to NA to see how those top 8 teams play. You can see pretty much exactly the big differences for those big matches. But right now, it's been a bit too slow. It's been a bit too not showing enough, I suppose it would be, because these games are still very easy for TSM, Sentinels, C9 to win against some of the tier 2 teams, I suppose, in America.
Well, the crucial part from all of that is that we right now have all the groups seeded finally, right? We have Group A to D, where, from my point of view, I think one of the most shocking groups are, they're all stacked. I mean, you take a look at it right now and you see, I mean, you don't want to be in any of those groups. But at the end of the day, Group A and I can't decide if my second heaviest group is Group B or C, because C still has Envy and Sentinels, but then there's also Dignitas and Spotter. Both have not really lived up to their expectations. What would you personally call the group of death? Where would you say this is going to be, whoever's going to be eliminated doesn't deserve to be eliminated?
I would say from what we saw with Group B yesterday, that's a pretty solid example. When you see T1 going down to the elimination game and going up against Equinox, they took a round from Gen G. That's the kind of look where you would expect Gen G to be coming out top of the group, but honestly, with how Complexity are looking, it could go either way. So there is a real risk that one of the 3 teams that are left in it, Gen G, Cole, and T1, one of them is clearly not going to get out of groups. but I do think the complexity have a lot to show. People say Group C, and really I don't see it because Envy Sentinels, I expected both to qualify. Spot Up kind of got in on an easy bracket, I would say. Ran into Sentinels and lost very quickly with a 2-0. Like they didn't
Yeah.
show up. Same with Dignitas against 100 Thieves, who have looked good, but not as good as these top 4 or 5 teams that we've been talking about. So I think this one's pretty much cut and dry. I get to cast the elimination game of that later on today, so that's most likely going to be Spot Up versus Dignitas. And really, I've not been impressed with Dig too much, but I haven't seen enough of them at this point, to be honest.
Same.
And then Group
They
D
seem-
is like TSM and everybody else, really. There's no
Yeah.
that should be an easy round for them.
I did want to pick your brain a little bit on some of the series that we already saw, because like to me, like the Equinox versus Gen G one was really
Yeah.
interesting. Like those were very close games across. It felt like a lot. And Equinox was one of the teams that I knew less of coming into it. I just expected Gen G to perform really well. How
Yeah.
legit are Equinox, and what do you think of like them overall as a team?
Well, they went by China Win for the longest time. It took a while for them to be signed, and they were probably the best tier 2 scene, tier 2 team even, that wasn't signed at all. To the point that they were putting out their gifts when they signed up, the whole contract signed. And I was legitimately expecting, like, I think this is a team that people like Evil Geniuses, or at that point, NRG didn't announce their roster. That would be perfect teams for these fairly big organizations. But Equinox is brand new. The whole org is brand new. So it's a bit of an interesting pickup. I think Nox have got away with getting a really good team, probably a lot cheaper than some other teams would go for them. But they've done well. I do think to an extent that they were in a really difficult group. I wasn't expecting too much out of them, to be honest. I do think that they lack a little bit of firepower in the right areas. But they are a squad that could do quite well in these other tier 2 tournaments. But when you only have 8 teams coming out to go to the finals of First Strike, it would be pretty straightforward, I suppose, to go, that's not going to be them. Unless they have a crazy round. But to be honest, they've just been really consistent and good at the level that they're at. They don't tend to upset people as much. But a map win over Gen G was certainly something. But I think that says more about Gen G than Equinox in that case.
Sure. Because of course, like Equinox went on to get 2-0'd by T1 later on and get knocked out there. So that'll be another matchup we have to look at, because I believe like loser of Gen G Complexity then plays against T1. Who would you expect to be the 2 teams that get out of this group? And would you expect Gen G to take Complexity or vice versa?
I would say so. I do think that Gen G was a team that was very much been slipping. They did really well in a closed beta, and they were one of those teams that you really consider. But as time went on, their defaults got so obvious to the point that I think in open brackets of tournaments with players streaming, they were like, all right, it's easy to play against these guys. They just keep doing the same things over and over again. Or we know what site they're going to hit on attack because a recon bolt comes in and it gives them away. And it's never a fake. It's always what they want to try and do. And this is a team that just suffered from that. It was way too vanilla. It was way too easy to read these guys. But then they brought in probably one of the best players currently right now with Sean. What a pickup. They got him from a team called Moon Raccoons, and he was a silver player. He's come in to play Reyna, and he has legit been one of the best Reynas in the scene so far. He absolutely showed up. He was great in the game against Sentinels, and he is just a clutch machine that, to be honest, Gen G have been missing. They look a lot more consistent. All of them are supportive players of people like GMD, for example, Mikael. They're the kind of players that don't really clutch out or frag heavy. They've all been showing up and improving individually to the point that they look like a powerhouse. But there's still a sense of consistency, and a team like Complexity that's also had recent roster changes have nothing to lose, right? You don't expect Complexity to get this far in a tournament. There's no harm in them going into this game going all out. And they're the kind of games that Gen G could struggle on, as we just saw with Equinox.
I would fully agree on that point. That's very something that when we talked about last week where Effie's had to leave, and you saw this breach omen combination of him starting to swap out for Arena. You were like, are they right now missing out on a tactical part, or are they voluntarily doing this? And then you watch the first games with Sean, and you're like, okay, I mean that's obvious. The point is absolutely obvious why they made that. It's absolutely insane what this individual has delivered so far. Talking about that and diving a little deeper into it. For all the groups, right? We saw the results in Group A and Group B. And then we have very strict quarterfinals. No elimination, no second elimination, no lower bracket, nothing. Straight to the point, single do or die. If we go a little bold on this one, Ryan, who would you personally, because we don't want to go finals, that is too many possibilities eliminated, but if we go for semis, right, just purely semis,
So
what do you
that's
see in there?
important, right? So you've got the 2 teams come out of each of the groups, and then you have the quarterfinals. Those top 8 teams get at least a spot in the UMG close qualifiers that's in a couple of weeks, right? So they've got a safety net to an extent. But you're right, like if you get to the semifinals, you go straight through to the finals in December. It's very confusing, but I think all of the regions suffer from this a little bit. But generally, getting to the semifinals in this Nerd Street tournament is the main goal. Anything past that is more seeding again, and you might see, say, if Sentinels get there, that they might start, pulling out the White Claws for a second time and just taking it easy because they've achieved their goal. But you're asking me sort of what teams are going to go through from this event to the Riot officially ran finals in December. I had to have a look at the bracket to see who would play who. C9 is definitely going to be one. I think they should have been more straightforward time to get in there, and they already looked great in their group. I think their win over Xset, whilst Xset was the 16th seed across the whole closed qualifiers, are a scary team to go up against because they're so unpredictable, they're so frag heavy. So the fact that Cloud9 not only won that game, but won it dominantly and just didn't let these guys play the Valorant that they wanted, shows the signs of a team that has adapted well. I'm sure Ender could mention some League of Legends teams that have a really high, but they go up against one iffy team and they fall apart and they just don't know how to deal with it. And then everybody's memeing on them because they're so inconsistent. That was Cloud9. Even like a week before the first strike, that was Cloud9 losing out to the new Immortals. This is a fresh new team. You would expect them to do well. I could see them getting to the finals of the whole thing, to be honest. This is the kind of level of team. Everybody's got better. It's not just Tens of Friends anymore. Relics was a monster on Raze. Shinobi doesn't look like the weakest link anymore. The whole team has its style, its
that Omen
adaptations.
ult play was so sick.
I do think it was a little bit lucky, to be honest.
It was for sure lucky, but
the adaptability.
Watching that.
I know that he was saying to Sideshow on his companion stream that he's just more confident with his aim. Either it's, stuff like AimLab or a DM, especially with the new changes. That's a lot more worthwhile in times, right? So just any aim trainers that might help him to be a bit more confident, right? So I think that helps. Sentinels, I do think there's going to be the quarterfinal match should be Genji versus Sentinels, which is pretty interesting because it's just a rematch of the game that we saw before. I do expect Sentinels to take it that time, though, because I do think that they were holding back. I don't think that they were, drinking on the job literally at that point, but I do think that there was reasons to save some of the stuff that they've been working on. I do still expect them to take that game. The third quarterfinal would be Envy Complexity. And again, I do expect Envy to do well in that because they've looked like an absolute solid team. And then finally you got TSM versus 100 Thieves potentially. Again, a match that we saw in the open qualifiers, but TSM, I'm genuinely impressed with how they played. Like, they just look like an absolute solid lineup. Wardell especially is adapted to the jet and operator nerfs really well, to the point that his jet rifling is actually one of the best, more creative ones out there. There's a lot of options, sure, but I do think that these top 4 teams of C9, Sentinels, Envy, and TSM are a cut above the rest. The other 4, though, could be anybody at this point.
Yeah, I remember watching that TSM set in particular. Like they looked really crisp. But it was also like one of our first looks at 100 Thieves coming in with their new
Oh
roster, and
yeah.
that's a team that a lot of people are excited about. I mean, obviously Hiko leading the squad, like everyone has to be watching that, ready to see what happens. What has been your take on this team so far? Because I think obviously they came in against TSM. That's a tough opponent. They looked weaker. People immediately started jumping off the hype train. But do you think this is a team that can, grow and compete as they get more time?
I do think so. I do feel like the TSM result was more surprising on TSM's end. I think a lot of people
Yeah.
just viewed them a lot more negatively than we'd expect, myself included. I casted that game and I'm like, all right, I'll be the one to hold my hands up and say I did not expect TSM to do well. Like, I triggered a lot of fans when I said that liking Wardell was June 2020, but it's more the sense of Wardell was like hot stuff at that point, right? He was the
Yeah.
guy that pretty much was the depiction of high tier Valorant playing, certainly with the Jet, with the operator. But as time went on, the Jet and the Op got nerfed. TSM started to fall off a little bit when Sentinels came into play. And it just sort of felt like, certainly from a TSM fan's perspective, that this was a team that wasn't adapting or changing. A little bit of hubris, maybe. They came into this tournament, they shut me up. They shut a lot of different people up that really didn't view this team to be one of the top 5 in the region anymore. They still are. And I still like the way that they're playing. 100 Thieves, though, going back onto them, I didn't view that game too negatively. I just think that they got schooled by a better opponent. There was a lot that they could take from that game. Asuna and Dicey in their game against Luminosity, they just spanked LG. And LG are a really good team as well, much like Complexity, to the point that I always get them mixed up because they are pretty much the same name, the same colors, and the same sort of level when it comes to their playstyle, right? So I will do that forever. But that win over LG is a key one. I do think there is a potential that they can give Cloud9 a really good game because whilst Cloud9 look a lot better, there's still gaps in their play. They always drop to map from playing up against Envy, TSM, and also to the slimy Boogermen, which isn't really the best look if you want to be
The
the top.
best name in esports.
I love it. I love it.
It's ridiculous. But you look at what we saw before, just a quick 2-0s. Like, I think 100 Thieves will be fine, but they still have a long way to go before they're, trying to go for the top spot. With that talent, you would expect them to be close at some point.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll say it like that. When you think that this name of the Boogerman is concerning, then I think you have never watched North American MDL. Anime teams, hentai team, whatever it's called. They're all there in MDL in North America, the best in the world. I know Ender is not going to be happy about that, but we have to get away from North America. I'm really sorry. I know it's your home, but we have
Look,
to switch to.
all I've done the last 3 years is try to get as far away from there as possible. So I don't know what
Okay.
you think you're offending me from.
He's
Well,
on the EU train, and I'm not surprised
I
really
am.
because that's starting next week. And
Yes.
the only thing that I do want to
go.
say about that, I like the fact that NA's qualifies with best of 3, and I do think that we have the best 16 teams in this tournament. Well, probably like 14 now because a couple have been eliminated. I gotta say, I'm a little bit nervous going into like the best of 1 clown fiesta, I suppose, in some cases, because there are some really good teams in Europe. There is a strong chance that even G2 gets knocked out. I'm not even joking at that point. Best of 1s are scary.
Yeah.
That's a thing you've seen a lot of open qualifiers, for example, in CS, were actually decent teams until I think there's round of 16 or round of 8, where there's where it's best of 3 because it would take too long as a qualifying tournament, which then is a concerning aspect. Talking exactly about that one, Ryan, we have I think a good bunch of teams right now that are not on too many papers. I think my best example would be HSDIIR or HSDIRR, whatever. It's the Swedish Russian mix. What's on your list from open qualifier on? Who do you see there that's going to be like, wait, that shouldn't be supposed to be there?
It's a good question because there's so many different teams, and I also do think that there's teams that are being mentioned that probably aren't up for it. People were raving about All the Rage a couple of weeks ago because they were beating teams like Guild and No Penky, and it was the Lithuanian stack. And a lot of people are like, okay, this is where this talent comes from. But speaking to a couple of the pros, they were kind of like, it was just a flash in the pan. This isn't the team that you expect much from. I do think that the smallest name, I suppose, that would do the most damage is Opportunists. because this team just
yeah.
relishes an open qualifier. They've always got really high in stuff like the We Play ones. I remember they got to the finals of that once, and then the other time, because there was 2 open qualifiers, I think they got to the semis. So this is a team that can provide upsets. They have a lot of talent individually to be able to do that. But you have to look at people like Summon. Summon's pretty much a set notion for who these top teams are going to be. But as I keep talking to the pros and stuff on what like they're expecting to happen, they're constantly reminding and repeating that because of the open bracket, the best of one single elim, anything could happen. But I do think that the team that could potentially get there that you might not have heard of is definitely going to be opportunists. I think everybody above them, you've seen in one case or another. People like Entropic, No Penky, those kind of teams.
Yeah. I mean, with rankings, well, Europe it is, and then I think we had this discussion last week and or 2 weeks ago with Heretics. We had it 2 or 3 weeks ago where Heretics have announced a lineup. Do you remember? Would you personally say, Ryan, that this is a bit, because there's a lot of Spanish leagues going on right now, and I think there has been this discussion that the rankings are getting artificially boosted due to that, because there's Heretics being a Spanish organization, obviously getting invited to those Spanish leagues. Would you say that their rank is a little bit artificially boosted, or are they at the spot where they deserve to be?
I think they're the real deal. So what I've got coming out probably Monday is I had this system where I wanted to know from the pros perspective, because there are teams like Summon that have done quite well, that look good, but you could, like All the Rage, like I mentioned, you speak to some of the pros and the coaches, they go, this team isn't the real deal. Don't expect too much from them. But there are teams like Heretics that have been playing in smaller tournaments that I do think are going to get to the finals in December. I genuinely think that they are a strong team. They've got the right idea. They're constantly praying. I hope they're praying, but they're playing as well. Just keeping warmed up. But they're not showing too much against the bigger teams. They're just playing within their circle. They've got tough opponents with teams like Vodafone Giants, but realistically, the teams involved in that tournament aren't too much to look at, other than Gambit, which is great because Gambit are doing the CIS region. They can scrim against them. They can practice and know that they're not going to run into them to compete. I do think Heretics are good, but the thing that I've been working on is speaking to 2 players from each of the teams, asking them, assuming that your team, so if I got to Team Liquid, for example, assuming that Team Liquid qualifies for the finals in December, who are the other 7 teams? And I've literally got the results in front of me. I'm going to I don't know if I'm going to do a video or just post them on Twitter, probably Twitter because I'm lazy. But, you know, everybody said G2, everybody said FPX. Ninjas in Pajamas is really high up there because of the new changes, which, again, people won't assume would be doing very well at the moment. Heretics is like 5th. There is a lot of raving from the pros that play up against them, the best players in Europe, going, Heretics are scary. We're genuinely terrified of them in all of the right areas. And yeah, you've got someone in there, you've got No Penky. They're probably the smaller teams that are going to fill out some of the bottom slots, but you're expecting G2, FPX, Ninjas in Pajamas, Team Liquid, Guild. People still raving on about Guild, and Heretics as the top 6 in the region. And again, they could drop out because of the best of ones, but they are the ones that I think would be the most shocking to not be at the finals in the end.
All right, I like getting excited for some new teams, maybe some less known teams for a lot of the people watching. We asked a little while ago in chat if anyone had questions for you, so we're gonna start getting into some of those. Chat, anyone in there? If you have more questions, toss them in. Before we get into that, though, I have to ask you, with the sheer number of teams, tournaments, regions that you're aware of, Ryan, how do you keep it all straight in your head? Because you've talked about like 20 different teams tonight without dropping a beat.
I mean, it's lucky for me, right? Because there's, like somebody mentioned as well, like, how do you become a caster? Honestly, that question's better powered off to you two, to be honest, when it comes to that, because it's weird for me because I'm a YouTuber by trade. I've been a YouTuber for 5 years, and we did a lot of Overwatch content, but because of how quiet Overwatch got, and then Overwatch 2 kind of being like I don't get it. What's it meant to be? We just wanted to do other games. Valorant Project A was announced, and we rebranded to a channel called Hitscan away from Overwatch Central. And as somebody that did cast a little bit of Overwatch, I just wanted to like hit the ground running because, you know, we were in the play tests, we got to play the game. Our involvement with Riot has been pretty good to speak to some of the devs and stuff. So I figured, like, I just want to jump in with casting. If I like it, I'll keep doing it. If not, then I'm not going to regret not getting involved in like a year's time, like I did with Overwatch, right? So
Yeah.
I'm not really a caster by trade to an extent. I'm more just a YouTuber, content creator kind of person. But you know, it's just basically following the game that closely and just being genuinely interested in it. Like passion is very difficult to have you be your fuel, right? Because
Yeah, for
sometimes
sure.
you will just play a game that you love, and even though like something like League of Legends has been out a while, there will just be periods where you go, I don't want to play League of Legends, man. I just want to play something new.
Ask
You know,
Ender.
yeah, like World of Warcraft's coming out. I'm more interested in that. It's very difficult to do that, but when it's your full-time job anyway, it's quite easy, I think, to sort of have everything married together. That's why I like casting.
Sure.
That's why I follow Valorant, because it's my job as a YouTuber to an extent, but it's also an area that I'm interested in. And I just like spouting my knowledge and creating content on those kind of things. It's nice to do, oh, here's the new Reaver skin bundle, here's the new Wasteland videos, but I do like also like how the pros are playing certain agents. Like hopefully replays and stuff come out where we could do that a little bit more. But generally, yeah, it's just I try and be an expert on everything. I did focus a lot on Europe, and then Europe just kind of went a bit radio silent, certainly over the last couple of weeks. So North America, like shout out to Ned Street Gamers and stuff like Bok and stuff for giving me opportunities. But generally, yeah, it's just I care about it. I was gonna say I give a poo about the kind of stuff, and so it's quite easy for me to keep up to date with it because it's a game that I'm passionate about. It's really good fun, and there's still more to come. The depth of this game is legitimately insane.
That's what's so exciting too. And I think for anyone in chat that is considering or wants to become a caster, like the biggest thing to do is just literally start doing it. It's so easy to start casting. Just open up a VOD, like mute it if you have to and you can't get like game files, but just start talking over. And I think making like shoulder content, whether it's making like YouTube videos or streaming, like anything to give yourself like on camera experience, even if it's just your voice, that's exactly the way you want to go about it. And you just have to put in a ridiculous amount of hours, but if you enjoy it, it'll be worth it and you'll want to keep doing it. And that's all you got to do.
Perfectly said.
It's interesting, really.
We have something for you, Ryan. Or more likely, the chat has been super active because
yeah, I've been looking.
Ender has this magic smile that somehow activates every single heart. And I said, you know what, we're gonna do some buzz questions. I hope you didn't look. Ryan, Phantom or Vandal?
Phantom. I like popping off with the Vandal, but I think the Phantom is just it's better when you're in a pinch, to be honest. And this spray's a lot easier to control. I think I'm just more. I went to Vandal and I was getting headshots, but if I had to spray, I would always lose because I've just adapted to the Phantom more. So
yeah, okay, that's a legit argument.
It's very difficult to unlearn when you get a spray pattern down. Certainly from playing Counter Strike, it's hell on earth. I can't play Counter Strike anymore.
Oh, don't say that. It's the mother. It's the goddess of shooters.
Yeah, it's the granddaddy. Yeah.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
All right, next, Brimstone or Omen?
Omen.
All right, I'm gonna keep it going. Jet or Raze?
Ooh.
Raze. I think Raze. Good Raze players are more interesting than good Jet players.
Yeah. I'm a Jet main, and I approve that message. Killjoy or Cypher?
Ooh, I do like Killjoy, and I feel like I'm one of the only people that thought that she got buffed with this recent patch instead of nerfed. Like, feel free to disagree with me, but I do feel that you look at Mitch, for example, for Cloud9. If you want to learn how to play Killjoy, watch him. He's already playing like it should be on a new patch. Bearing in mind that the close qualifiers are on patch 1.10, so the week before's. He's playing it like it should be played. And I do think that, yeah, if you try to play her in that whole, I'm going to watch A site and I'm just going to pull up a sofa and know that this site's going to be, covered. You have to be a bit more proactive. And if you can use that utility properly, you're going to be scary. More scary than Killjoy is currently. So yeah, KJ.
I think we had this discussion about how now you can really swap more sides with Killjoy and actually be on one side and suddenly 10 seconds later you're on the other one. That makes it quite pivotal. Sage or Phoenix?
That's not even a comparison. What's going on there?
Why would you write that, Dace?
Give me Sky or Breach. That's the real question.
Yeah, that's a better question, actually.
What was the question? Sorry, I was looking at Twitch chat to see if there was any others.
Sky or Breach?
I really like Sky. I think that she's going to be very meta.
Cool. I like it. I think that Do we have any other quick fire questions?
Viper, come on, thoughts on Viper.
Viper
Finally,
or
Ryan,
Junkrat?
Viper. No, Viper thoughts, Ryan.
I do think that the Viper change, like we saw Haste play it for TSM. It wasn't the best, but you have Unbox that didn't even qualify that are really good with a Viper in the Renegades tournament. There is options there. Safe is probably going to bring it out. I've heard a lot of EU teams that you would never think would be playing Viper considering playing her. Yeah, right. Well, yeah, I think it's just a lot of teams, even those that are very much like, we're stuck in playing this one comp all the time. A lot of teams are experimenting. I genuinely think that Europe is going to have a very interesting look when we get there, looking at some of the players that you typically don't expect to be off certain roles.
Yeah.
All right. With that, our rapid fire questions are over.
Lovely.
Ryan, you said you were going to be casting NSG later on. Which match is that, and how far away? How many hours until then?
It's like a couple of hours. Like, I was worried that I would be running out of time here, to be honest, but like it's like 10 o'clock now. It's been moved back. So that game is TSM versus Built by Gamers, which I'm hoping isn't as one-sided as the other games that I've got to cast, because man, we've had some blowouts, and me and Tom Biz are just like, it's really difficult to cast a game when it's so one-sided. I'm still, like I said, like I'm still new to casting. Like that's a good thing. Like I feel like I've been able to start from square one and work my way up. And I don't have like illusions of grandeur of like, oh, I want to be like, you know, doing these top events. I want to be in for Europe First Strike. It'd be nice, but like I feel like I'm just working my way up. The grind is real, those kind of things. But generally, I do think that like that game, I just hope is close. It's good to practice our craft. Then we have the elimination game between, like I mentioned, it would be Spot Up versus Envy and Sentinels versus Dignitas. So whoever loses those two games will play off to avoid being eliminated. That's going to be really tricky, because it's very difficult when you only have a couple of hours, and it's like, it could be two teams. It's like, great, who the hell am I preparing for? So that's what I'm going to be doing after this, at least.
None of them?
I feel like it's a safe assumption to be, okay, we're not going to be casting Sentinels, unless there's like a freak, you know, reaction, I suppose.
I do have some quick tips for you, since you're casting a TSM match of potentially one-sided matchup. Because these are the hardest when you have a big name team and it's going to be one-sided. You're going to get called biased. You're not biased. And for any of you in chat who call casters biased, you're just wrong. If you don't like a team and they say that team is playing well, that doesn't make the caster biased. That makes you biased. That's how this works. Okay, so just say the other team's name as much as you possibly can, and you'll not get that as much. That's my best advice.
I'll say it.
We get that with G2 Fnatic all the time.
I feel like, being honest helps with that. Like I do feel like I unloaded a lot of like repressed anger, I suppose, from Twitch chat when I'm like, all right, I'll be honest, I wrote TSM off, I was wrong, and then everybody's kind of like feels vindicated almost. It's just especially now where you do have like, you see Sentinels get upset and their instant reaction is, we weren't trying. What the hell are you meant to make of that as a caster, right? Like, oh, great, you know, that's good to know. But there's still more to come, and I even feel with these games that are still very important for teams like Sentinels or NB to win. There is going to be an element of let's not use that strat, let's not use that agent. Let's just keep things to the vanilla playstyle that we've been having this far. And then also with the finals, you've got Sky and Icebox, which is just going to change up the game even more drastically, right? So. It's very difficult to get a read on the teams right now, because I think some of them, like Built by Gamers, are just going to go in with their game plan because their expectations aren't going to be too high to actually qualify. So they're just going to try their hardest. Sentinels, they are going to get anti-stratted to hell. No matter who they play up against, people are going to be watching their VODs and trying to work them out. So it's very easy to punch up in a lot of these cases. And Sentinels is being punched quite a lot at the moment. So it's interesting to see their reaction to stuff.
A lot of fun matches coming up here. Everyone in chat, make sure to tune in to the NSG Close Qualifiers later tonight. Hear the wonderful voice of RyanCentral casting that. Follow him on Twitter too. You can see that. He makes content. He's casting. He's got the YouTubes all over that. So make sure you follow that and, give him some views. Learn something about the game. Thanks so much, Ryan, for joining us and talking about all things Valorant. Man, just a wealth of knowledge. I love it. Thanks again.
I tried to be. Thanks for having me, guys. Like, good luck with the rest of the show. I've actually, like, long-time listener, first-time caller, it feels like. It's cool. I love the level guys. Dorian is great and stuff. So that's me done with my bias, clearly. So thanks, guys.
Awesome. Hope to have you back, and good luck on the cast later today.
Thank you.
All right, Zescht. Love it
Oh,
every single
no.
time. But we got to move on to our next segment. It's
True.
back again this week. It's the hashtag Valorant wish list. Today, we're doing things a little bit different, though, because as a connoisseur of sorts of the Reddits, I was making my way through
Oh,
r/Valorant
no.
earlier this week, and it seems as though some people on Reddit have things that they wish were in the game. I also
Ah,
think that most people
oh.
on Reddit are stupid. So let's break it down. Let's pull up the first post.
The thing is, the way you started was like this copy pasta of Rick and Mortimer, and only intelligent people understand it. Bring knife rounds to Valorant. So quickly making people understand. Knife rounds are there, for example, in Counter-Strike to decide who's starting on which side. Okay, Andy. It's your
Okay.
turn. Why shouldn't we? Why shouldn't we have knife rounds, man? I mean, come
Because
on,
it's a
it's so
waste
useful.
of time. So
No,
when
wow.
I play Valorant,
Yeah.
I want to get into game and have real gameplay as soon as possible. And in an ability-based tactical shooter, sure, knifing people and knife 1v1s are fun, but if I want to do that, I'll go into a custom game and I'll do zipline
No.
jousting. But
Uh-uh.
I don't want this in my competitive tac shooter. I don't want to take 2 minutes before every game starts to go stabbing people. Like that just isn't going to do it for me. Maybe if I play one game a day, that's fun. But if I'm playing 10 plus games a day and I have to do 10 plus knife rounds, or God forbid you do it at the start of the half, like 20 plus knife rounds, I am going to lose my mind. And I just hate everything about that idea.
But Ander, how do I decide on which side do I start?
Flip a coin or use the RNG already existent in the game. That's it.
Nah, man.
We're not
Biased
playing
caster.
first strike.
Biased
Really
caster.
does not matter which side you start in matchmaking. I'm gonna be honest. There's a better team and there's a worse team. Better team is usually gonna win. So
Accepted.
knife rounds, get them out of here. Zipline jousting is very fun though, and if anyone wants to 1v1 me, you know where to find me.
15
It's
seconds
fun.
of it. I think there should be actually a skill-based system on which side do you start. Very genuinely, very honestly, I think that should be a thing. Not knife rounds. Period. Easy as that.
I don't want anything that's gonna make it take too long. Maybe when I get into Radiant, then I'll care. But yeah, the rest of it, ugh.
Not in matchmaking. In professional games, competitive, sure, why not? In matchmaking, nah, screw that one. Come on, what's next?
Exactly.
How do we get every heart rate up?
I think we have op issues as the one to bring up. Now, the op has been a highly contested point for a little while here. But in this post, they said the issue with the operator is level design and more flashes won't help. Well,
I can't even read
this.
this.
The exact line was, this is 99% just a plaster fix to the operator, which is still an issue due to the fundamentally flawed level design in Valorant. Until the maps are heavily reworked, and then it goes on to this entire post, by the way, and maybe there's an issue with level design. My biggest gripe with this post is in the title and in the text, they say the problem with the operator is level design. And then they never explain what the problem with level design is. They're just like, old man yells at cloud like, oh yeah, the economy is terrible. And then don't give a reason why. It's like, oh, the school system sucked. Don't give a reason why. Like literally just complaining for the sake of complaining without giving any legitimate, credible information to back it up.
True. Okay. I thought for a second you're just complaining that he doesn't give a solution, because I think that is okay. But yeah. It's especially when you consider we had the operator nerf, which was actually massively increasing the money, the movement. I mean, come on, mate. How often do you see an operator in matchmaking by now when you're not getting stomped? The opponent are freaking Warren Buffett. Ain't happening really that often anymore. It's not too much of a deal. Come on, next one. What's next? How
Quickly on this one.
We
have 5 different maps that all play very differently, and the op is good on all of them. So how can you what is the problem? Is there just one problem? Do each map has a unique problem that makes the operator better than anything? No, I don't buy it. Also, the buffs. Oh, go ahead. You know it?
I have the solution. Okay, listen to me, right?
I'm listening.
Imagine that there in every matchmaking game there are 2 dedicated operator players, and you have to play a knife round.
Oh my god. You've got okay.
Imagine that.
Yikes. Next. Toggle hands. I don't even remember what this one is.
Actually,
In
that's
CS,
legit.
I would have my.
That's legit.
Oh wait, this is legit. Oh, this
This
is
is legit.
yours.
This
This
is
isn't
legit thing.
mine.
Is it mine?
Yeah,
I don't know.
I didn't put
Whatever.
this one in here. This is a legit one.
It's something actually many pro players in Counter Strike do. It's a legit thing.
Yeah.
It's something that could
I'm all
be.
for it.
But at the same time, I mean, how many months is this game out now? You know, At-
6, something like
right?
that.
And the left-hand mode is
5.
horrible. The left-hand mode comparable because if you don't have a view model change, it's horrible. It's the worst.
Yeah,
I played it. It's,
I really, I'm not a fan of the left-hand mode, but I do think having a
am.
toggle, that's a cool change. I'm all
Yeah.
for it. Sky Flash, next one. Let's bring it up. Let's see, is this one of yours? Oh, I love posts like this. Sky Flash calling out if someone is blinded is unnecessarily unbalanced. Yeah, no, I totally agree here. I think that Sova's dart, not only having people shoot it, but also potentially reveal them if they miss, is just unnecessarily
Man.
imbalanced. You know, a Cypher's
just-
cage, like making a sound if you walk through, unnecessarily. Like, who are you to tell me what is unnecessary and what is necessary? Like, it just doesn't make any sense. And also, unbalanced, give me the proof. Tell me how it's unbalanced. Because maybe, what if Sky is just underpowered? Like, that change doesn't make her overpowered on its own. So you just can't tell me that that is unbalanced.
Brother, I think they should all just disable all abilities and just keep on playing the game like that. I think that would be the only way to make this all balanced again, very honestly. That's the solution. That's my next Reddit post. Tell me.
I'm all for it. I'm all for it. You know what? The best part, so I read the comments in that thread. I don't often read comments, but when I do, they're usually pretty juicy. The comments in that thread were legitimately sane. Like, they were good comments. They were like, yeah, but like Reyna's flash is different to Breach's flash is different to Omen's flash. Like, everyone has different things on their flash because abilities, believe it or not, shouldn't all be the same. This isn't Counter-Strike where everyone's flashbang does the exact same thing. I know, crazy. It's not Counter-Strike. So actually having the call out is really cool because it makes it unique and you can nerf different elements to it. You can make it call out at a shorter range, or you can make the flash less powerful by reducing numbers. But I think having that added line in the game files that says has a call out is a good thing. It gives depth and, you know, more dynamic gameplay to the agents involved.
I mean, what do we get anything else on the list? Because I can't recall. I really try to, you know, I digest. Oh God.
Yeah, Odin Go Burr is the last one. I do believe here.
It. Odin nerf.
I want an Odin nerf really, really badly. There's not one competitive game where I haven't seen Odin. I mean, I can understand that it's players the player's wish, but come on, man, the Odin is really broken. Its damage is 1 lesser than Phantom, and with fire rate, oh god, you can pin enemies down faster than any other gun. Plus, who else want an Odin nerf? I hope it happens. Do I have to?
No.
Do I have to?
No. Mate,
all right, you
save
got
your energy.
I mean, come on. Nerf Odin, please. Well, Zescht, we want to move on to your wish list. Some legitimate wishes.
Yeah, wow. You think I just drained all the... Can we do this at the end next time? Because I think it drained all the energy off of me. One thing I would really wish, which is actually amazing in my eyes, is the possibility to have a built-in API of the game that gives you very, very, very detailed analytics, as Counter-Strike and HLTV, for example, have. Don't get me wrong, VLR and the Spark are doing an amazing job with what they have, but the depth of those statistics, and this is just superficial, there's much more and more deeper there, and that would be amazing for at least data analysis. It's not demo analysis, but that would be amazing. I would be craving this so much.
Are you talking for this? Are you talking about specifically for tournaments? Or are you talking about like your match-made games, like all of your personal player stats too?
No, not personal. I think personal would not be necessary, but I think actually professional tournaments, such a plugin would be really helpful and be very nice to see. Because if you're not familiar with HLTV, the amount of statistics you can get is just astonishingly big, and I think that makes it really, really fun to take a look at because it gives you so much information about players and the performances in teams, especially for a game like Valorant that's such a young age. Might be interesting to implement that once in a while.
Yeah, so it is interesting because working with Riot on League of Legends, they have like really insane stats like all this. And we have like
Yeah.
stats operators at the LEC that can dive into anything we ask them, and we'll be able to pull that out. They don't make that information public all the time. They do have like APIs that some developers get access to pull info and stats like that out from. So I'm curious as if we see Riot to go down the line of after First Strike taking more control over the professional Valorant scene, I would assume we get more access to that. Maybe not like full public access, but any
Yeah.
tournament organizer is going to be able to get like much more precise access to information on any Riot run tournaments that could
True.
be pretty interesting and probably fill some of the void you're feeling at the moment.
Yeah, I think it would be very beneficial for casters overall. I think
Yeah.
actually before we go to your point, I think we should go to how do you become a caster during our match today. I think that would be a very nice podcast point when nothing's happening. Just putting that out.
Well, yeah. We want to get into
Yeah.
that during the cast or
Yeah,
now?
yeah, a little bit. No, a
Okay,
little bit
okay.
during that when it's a little downtime,
Yeah.
chillization going on.
I
But you
like
got
it.
a
Yeah,
good
yeah,
point
we
as
can do
well.
that. Yeah, I got my own personal wish. So
A massive
this,
one.
I'll be honest, I'll be a man of culture here. So the reason why, so I play a lot on the North American server, and the reason why is because I like to play with my brother. And from playing
Mm-hmm.
with my brother, like it's really fun to rock around with your duo and do stuff on the map by yourself. Take a site, 2v3 or whatever. Do your own thing. But we also used to play when CS was. We played a lot of Wingman. And
Yeah.
I want a 2 versus 2 mode in Valorant. I think there's a
Yes.
really cool opportunity here with agent selection to make a really dynamic game mode where instead of 5 agents, like, do you run 2 duelists, which would probably be meta, or do you end up
Mhm.
running, sentinels, engagers, like any of these things? Like, there's a really cool space that I think Riot could explore. And if they were to design their own maps too, that could be really interesting because you could have maps that are specifically designed for Wingman, which is sort of a thing in CS. Sometimes it's just like the A bomb site like pulled off of a map from like what's it called? Inferno. Like they have the A bomb site is just like ripped off from there, and that's like a Wingman map.
I'm thinking.
But there are
Go ahead.
some unique maps. The one I think there's
Rialto?
one in
Rialto, it is.
That's the Venice
That's
one.
the
I
only
think,
one,
right?
though. That's the only one. Yeah, that's Venice, exactly.
Yeah.
Everything else.
They have like Dust 1, I think.
Right,
Old
but Short
Dust.
Dust is Dust 1,
Yeah, Short
basically.
Dust. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But yeah, I
Um,
think that it could be really cool for Riot to make a 2v2 mode. And I don't think this would come anytime soon. And because we don't have like map making ability from the public, I don't like this may just never end up coming. But when I look at Deathmatch and I look at Spy Crush, like these modes just do not inspire me, and I don't ever
True.
want to play
Yeah.
them. Like I just don't
Spy
care. Whereas a
Crush is horrible.
Wingman mode,
Spy Crush
I would
is-
legitimately want to play.
Yeah.
And I think that if you looked at creating new maps, and I mean Riot devs with like teleports and stuff, it have already been proven to be very creative. Like I don't want to see a spike plant 2v2 mode.
Okay.
I don't know what the 2v2 mode would look like and what the objective would be, but I think Riot has a really cool space with all the differences in their agents to make a really interesting and unique mode there.
I think capture the flag in 2v2 would bring something very unique to competitive shooter because we haven't had
That's what I
capture
was
the flag.
thinking.
Yeah. Oh, man. But before we head into everything else, you said you're a man of culture, Ender, right?
Mhm. Yeah.
What's your favorite Wingman map? There's only one answer. There's
Ooh.
only one answer. A single one.
I think. Oh, I haven't played in like so long. Actually, I think I really enjoyed Nuke. What's your
The
favorite?
answer was Lake. Lake.
Oh, Lake is so good. No, you're right. Lake is so good.
Lake
How could I
is
forget
the
Lake?
best.
Oh,
You know,
you're right.
the
you're
call
right.
outs, the call outs on the map. There's Banana Stone, there's Obi and Hornbach. It's amazing. I love this map so much.
I'll be honest,
It's-
I know none of the callouts because like
No
I
worries.
literally have
They're all
only ever
fake.
played Wingman with my brother. So like we have our own like callouts that no one else probably recognizes.
Yes, exactly. That's what I did, especially with my good friend Paul von Erdmannsdorf, to just give you one of those German names again. Where we have it's the orange stone, it's the banana stone, it's the strawberry stone, it's the apricot stone. It's because there are multiple stones on the map, right? So they're all named
yeah.
by fruits. Yeah.
Oh, I love it. Honestly, I was low key hyped for a wingman mode. Like after having this conversation, I'm just like, it's even more so.
Yeah,
2v2. Oh, there's so
especially.
much strategy you could have in a map like wait. Imagine,
Yeah, go
okay,
ahead.
this is the
Oh
ascended
no.
version.
Uh-huh.
Imagine wingman. So this is how I design it. It's wingman, but you can swap agents mid, like not mid round, but like between rounds.
Oh,
I don't know if it's every round you could swap agents, but like maybe every like 3 rounds or something
yeah,
you can swap. That would
yeah,
be so cool.
yeah, yeah, yeah. That's actually cool. That's actually a very very cool idea. I would very much like that. That sounds
I'm
because
gonna
the thing.
I'm gonna come back next week. I'm gonna have a pitch, and we're gonna have a segment talking about my pitch for Wingman game mode.
Can we buy you a whiteboard? You know, so you can actually like draw on it and things.
Please, I really want a whiteboard.
Maybe
Level,
we can
please.
do
Hook it
GoFundMe.
up. Go fund me. I need 15 euros for a whiteboard.
You know, on the left hand side, please help us with our animal shelter, and there somewhere in the middle is Ender. I need a whiteboard.
I
Oh
love
well.
it. I love it. That is next week. We've got a segment. I think capture the flag. You're onto something there. Just have to make sure camping is not a good thing. But
True.
I'll fix that in my pitch for next week. We'll have a big thing on it. That'll be a lot of fun. We
Mhm.
are going to be wrapping up our little podcasty segment and be getting into some sweet gameplay. We've actually got some players sitting at the dome, still some level staff to make sure everything is
Yes.
good for our lockdown here, that we are going to be casting them in their own little match made unrated game. I believe it's going to be, which should be a lot of fun. We've done some casting before. Online is a completely different animal, so
Oh
bear with
yeah.
us as we try to get through the technological barriers holding us down here. But that match is going to be a lot of fun, like usual. And Zescht, Coach Zescht, you're
Oh
gonna have
no
to
no
be
no.
giving our players some pro tips tonight.
So I'm horribly going to lose. Thank you very much for watching. No, we're just heading into a little 2-minute break. We're going to be right back. We're going to watch the wonderful stuff of Level, who actually prepared some pro player things. So you better stay here.
Ooh.
Go yourself to the toilet, grab some snacks. We'll be right back.